Hello, friends, and welcome to Charlie's Creative Corner. I'm glad you could come by today and check out my channel. A lot has been going on. I haven't done a video in a while. I actually don't even remember. I know the last one was the carousel horses. But things have been busy, things have been crazy, and I haven't been feeling the best. But I'm doing all right. I mean, I'm not like sick or anything, but it's just haven't been feeling too good physically, just real tired and things like that. So it's kind of been, I've been kind of shoving you guys off and putting you in on the back burner, and I'm done doing that. So we're going to do a video today. It's going to be a long one. I'm not going to lie. But let's see what's been going on. I did get my order, which is cool. I got a lot of stuff. A lot. I got all sorts of different beads, and I got all sorts of supplies. So we're going to be doing some cool things coming up here soon. I'm going to finish off the carousel that I started, because otherwise I'll never finish it, and then we'll be stuck with an unfinished project. And I don't want that. I want us to have our projects finished. So today we're going to do the other animal in the series for the carousel, the rooster. We're going to do that today. I did want to show you, I did get some really cool books recently, and one of them is a lot more sewing. It's little soft plushes and animals and dolls and things like that, and I'd like to try and maybe get into some of those with you guys too. So we'll kind of maybe switch it up here and there and do different things. I do have some polymer clay books on the way also, and I'm not experienced at all with polymer clay. I've never really done it. I've never really used it. I've used it maybe once or twice. So, pardon me. So I got some books on that. Maybe I can maybe brush up on a little bit, and I don't know. That's a big maybe. That's a really big maybe. We'll see what happens there. But as far as life is going, not too bad. Shade is doing well. He's zonked out over here. I don't know if you can see him from there. I doubt it, but he's over there just snoring away right now. You probably can't hear him, but he's snoring his little face off. And, you know, the vet called and checked in on him, and he's actually doing really well. So he goes in on the 14th to get that pin removed. So another 14 days he has to go. And then after the pin is removed, I don't know if he has to stay overnight at the vet or not after they take that pin out, but he will have to stay in that crate for another 7 to 10 days. So we're talking about another month's time until I get my little kitty back to normal again. But he's doing good. He's doing better since he got that, he got an anti-anxiety pill to kind of keep him calm. And that has helped a lot. Although last night when I let him out, he was really hyper. He was running. Like, his arm must feel way better because he was like running, and he's putting weight on his arm. He's not limping as bad as he was. So that's a really good thing. But he's doing well. I'm doing well. I showed you last time we went and saw the cranes again. And then I went over to one of our local museums. I want to say that was on Sunday, I believe. And I was really excited because I got to see 2 original Audubon, John James Audubon paintings. And he really is my favorite artist. I have a big book of his. I got prints that I have on the wall. I got another print that I hung up over here. I don't know if you can kind of see it. It's the crane there. I got that at the museum because I don't have that one. So I got the whooping crane. And he was a naturalist who painted and cataloged and did the Birds of America book. And I have always wanted to see one of his paintings in real life. And I got to see 2. So I about fainted. I didn't know that they were there. I just wanted to go check out the museum because I knew they were doing a sandhill crane exhibition. And I thought, oh, well, they'll have some cool stuff or whatever, which they did. But that blew me away. I can die happy now. But it was really, really beautiful. I didn't know they were as big as they are. Like, they're taller than me. They're huge. These paintings are gigantic. The prints I have, they're pretty good sized, but they're not what that is. And so seeing it like that, you could really see the detail. You could see all the charcoal drawing parts of it, the painting, the watercolors in it. It was so beautiful. And I'm probably actually going to go back and see him again before they stop the exhibition. I think it's stopping in June, I want to say. Maybe. I don't know. I think they're going on another month or two. So I might go back and see it every couple of days or something, or not a couple of days, but a couple weeks or so for a while till they're there. I'm pretty sure the cranes have pretty much getting ready to leave town. They'll probably be gone by next week. So I might be able to get out this weekend and see them. I don't know. The weather, it's not been very good. But we are supposed to get some nice weather, which is awesome. I'm looking forward to that. Besides that, not a whole lot going on. I did want to show you, hang on one second. Okay, I did want to show you a couple of the books I got. I got some really great beading books, but I haven't really dug into them yet. And there's going to be some really cool stuff coming our way, I think, because I'm getting a lot of ideas from them. But one book I did want to kind of show the beaders out there was, I got this one. I got it through thrift books online that you can get them really cheap. But this is what they call the Illustrated Bead Bible. Okay. Now, this is an amazing book. I was looking through this and I've read quite a bit of it already. But it's basically A to Z of just all the different beads, all the different kinds of beads and findings and tools and everything used in beading and jewelry making and anything like that. And I'm telling you, this is the most extensive book of this caliber I've ever seen. I've never seen a book like this for beading. And I mean, if you can, scratch up the money or find the book, I would really recommend this book. Because if you have any questions on beading at all, I mean, it gets into everything. And I mean everything. All the different types of beads, where they come from, how they're made, different findings, different tools, charms, everything, you name it. It's in here. And then in the back, there's also, some beading stitches and things like that. But this is a amazing book for anybody who likes beads or has questions about beading. I would just really recommend it. I think it's a really fun book, and it's if you want to learn more about your art and your craft, I would really recommend. It's the Illustrated Bead Bible, Terms, Tips, and Techniques by Teresa Flores Geary, and really great book. Highly recommend it. Might want to check that out. Even if your local library has it, it'd be a good book just to check out and read and look through. And then another one I got today, which I'm kind of excited about. See, I'm not the best at sewing, but I'm trying to get better. So I've been wanting to do like something kind of cute and fun. I'm not a clothes sewer. I'm not going to be sewing my clothing or anything like that. Like, I want to do something fun. I have nieces and nephews that I can make things for, and I can make things for myself because I like dolls and toys myself. I'm not going to lie. I'm a kid at heart. Nothing wrong with that, right? So I got this. This is an older book. I want to say, let's see, looks like starting from 1963 to 1975, there was a lady named Joan Russell, and she would do patterns for the Woman's Day magazine back in through the 50s or the 60s, 70s and things. And this was all of her patterns combined, okay, for various little critters and dolls. And there are some really adorable patterns in here. That one's in black and white. This one I really liked. This was the Alice in Wonderland dolls. Absolutely love these. So adorable. Now, I don't have a lot of fabrics and stuff, but you know, I'm kind of a recycle type, so I will take, you know, old clothes or Goodwill stuff and use that, which nothing wrong with that. It's better than adding more to the world. But there are some really cute things in here. I love those kitty cats up there. Those are just precious. Monkeys, and there's some more dolls. Never made a rag doll before, but I might try because this is really fun. And, you know, I had a lot of fun making the felt with you, and I thought maybe we could do more sewing. Like, I really liked these. These were really cute. This little bunny back here is a sock. So adorable. And this one too is a little sock. And so I thought this would be a really fun book. I know it's kind of older, but if you have grandkids or kids or, you know, neighbor kids or something, you want to make somebody something for them, maybe we can get into some of that, because I'm really enjoying it and I love to sew. And I'm not good with a sewing machine or anything, but this stuff's simple enough that we can do it by hand. So we don't need to have all those crazy tools. So maybe I can come up with some old scrap fabrics and things, and we can try some of these out. I thought it'd be kind of fun. But that's just a couple of the books I got. I go through the Thrift Books website, and they actually have a lot of books for a really good price. And even if you have a used bookstore locally or something, we don't have a used bookstore here, so stupid. I wish they did. That would be awesome. But if you have one locally, even a used bookstore, you can find some really good craft books and get ideas. And anything just to kind of keep busy right now. Things have been kind of crazy, kind of hectic. I know life has been really hard for a lot of people right now, and I think that the best solution to all of the issues that have been going on in life right now is to just take all of that energy and make something positive with it, and get creative and find a new hobby or a new craft and put that energy into something good. And I think that we've all been a little stressed and a lot under pressure, and things are just kind of all over the place, and we need an outlet. So it doesn't hurt to go pick up a book for $4 or something and start something new and try it out and kind of just relax and enjoy yourself. So nothing wrong with that. But today we're going to get back into some felt sewing. I know it's different. I do have a lot of beadwork stuff coming up. Was practicing one last night that I want to do a video with, which is going to be really, really cool. They're really pretty. Something kind of different and fun. But, pardon me, I need a drink here. Okay. What I did, this took me a long time. I'm not going to lie. This took forever. I did not think it was going to take this long, because those little horses, they didn't take me very long. But there is a lot of embroidery, a lot of beads, a lot of sequins, and a lot of sewing involved with this, but it is totally worth it. This is our little rooster, okay? How beautiful is that? I mean, it turned out just lovely. I absolutely love him. You can hang him up. Of course, he's going to go in with our carousel. He doesn't hang very straight because he's a little bit awkward. I was debating on, putting the thread like that, but I didn't want to. I just wanted the single thread. But he's going to be really pretty with his little buddies hanging on that carousel. So we're going to do him today. And obviously, looking at it, you're going to need some seed beads. You're going to need some bugle beads, because he's got little bugle beads up on his tail. You're going to need some sequins of different colors, because we got some sequins on there, and embroidery floss and felt. So we'll kind of go through that here on how to do that. Now, as far as the pattern goes, I don't have a place where I can go and download this pattern for you guys. But, I was looking kind of to help you out. I was kind of looking online to see if there was a way to get a rooster pattern. And what I would recommend, now this is an idea, and I've done this personally myself, is to go onto you know, whatever search engine that you use, Google or Bing or whatever, and go in and type, it's like a clip art rooster or black and white clip art rooster, and it will bring up a bunch of images of roosters, okay, like a ton of them. And what you can do if you have tracing paper or a really bright screen, if you have a really bright screen, you can just use regular, just like typing paper, and you can find an image similar to this shape and just trace around it. That's all you have to do. And it's that simple. The other pieces, like his little eye flashes and his little feet and stuff, really easy to make up, okay? So the body shape on this, for the body, the blue part, looks like this, okay? And it's really easy. If you can find a pattern like that, it doesn't have to look just like this. You know, yours can have a smaller tail or a higher up tail or whatever. But as long as you get that general rooster pattern with the, you know, you want the headdress up there and you want his big fluffy tail and, you know, his beak. So those are the main pieces that you're going to need for this. I could even try and hold this up here. And you might be able to trace around it with your screen. If you're using your tablet, just press really lightly. Don't damage your screen. So if you do that, use a pencil and really trace lightly. But I'm trying to find something dark that I can put behind it for you. And maybe if you just hit pause, you might be able to trace around it, and you can resize it if you need to, however you need to resize it. And so I don't know if that helps at all. And you can try it that way. I don't know. Some people are really great artists. Some people aren't. I'm not one of them. So if you have any way of getting that. But like I said, you can go on Google, just search clip art rooster black and white, and it'll bring up images, and you can just trace around. You know, they'll have details all in them. You don't need those details. Or you could trace like rooster silhouette maybe. But that is what kind of the general shape and form you're going to want for this project. Now, the wing is really simple. It's just a little wing, just a little, you know, and that's not hard to do. So that one would be easy to trace or even draw out. So I will set that there for a second, let you kind of look at that. And that way you can kind of get an idea of the wing. Now his foot is just a bird foot. Whoops, I dropped his foot. It's really just a simple idea. It's just the leg with his 3 little claws. And so that one is not hard. It's just a couple little pointy triangles and a leg part. So that's easy enough. Of course, you want to make sure they're all in proportion. And then you have the wattle. Now this is the wattle here, this red piece. And then you also have the eye flashes, which is the yellow underneath his eye, okay? And those are really easy. They're almost like little teardrop shape. Now, the wattle is bigger than the eye flash, okay? But they're basically the same shape, okay? Basically the same shape on those. See, if you overlap them, it's about that much difference in size. So those are easy enough. You could probably even just cut those out, you know, without a pattern, because they're easy enough to do. And that's all the pattern is. It's just your body part, your body, the base, and then the wing, okay? And then your foot, okay? And then your little wattle and your little eye flash. And that's it. So, I mean, even if you're not that great of an artist, those things are pretty easy to eyeball and just kind of sketch out if you need to. And what you could do is you could take what you have. If you find a thing to trace, like if you can find the body to trace, you could, you know, trace 2 of them. And one of them you could draw those things on there to make sure they're in proportion. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you have your one and you can draw the wing onto it. You can draw the legs onto it. You can draw your little wattle onto it. And then you can cut those pieces out of that one and use those. And then you can use the other piece for the body, just so you know that it's all going to fit properly and look in proportion. So hopefully that helps you. I don't have a website or anything where I can upload the pattern or anything for you. So hopefully you're creative enough to pull that off. But, just do your best. Make it yours. Make it creative. That's all you can do. As far as supplies, we're just going to need some embroidery floss, some felt, some polyfill, scissors, and sequins, seed beads, bugle beads, and a nylon thread to hang it from. And I believe that's all. So I will get us turned around, and we will get the little rooster guy pinned into his fabric and start cutting pieces out, okay? I will see you here in 1 second. Alrighty, let's get her going here. Now, we have our pattern here, and you're going to want to cut your pattern out so that you can cut around it. I don't like to trace. You could trace if you want. I don't like to trace because then you got to all those marks to deal with, and I don't like the marks. So you're going to need a base color for the body, and I'm choosing a violet color today, a purple color. I thought it'd go good with the other guy I have. Okay, so you're going to need a base color for your body, and I like to fold it in half. The body's pretty big, so it kind of takes it's going to take like a full piece. And you're going to need some straight pins. So if you have some straight pins, just your typical sewing straight pins. I'm going to pin this on. Let me kind of turn you a little and get you in a little bit here. And I'm going to bring my light a little closer too. I always forget to do that, and get some light going. Now you're going to want to, I'm going to just kind of trim this here so I don't have all this excess to deal with. And I know a lot of you probably know how to cut and trim around things, but some people might not. So if you do, go ahead and skip this part, or skip forward in the video if you like. Get that out of the way. Okay, and I'm going to pin this on just in a few basic spots. I like to go over where I've already pinned, just so that I don't damage my pattern too much, because I like to keep my patterns and reuse them, or just have them if I want them. And that way I still have them. And it's always good and nice to have them, because if somebody sees one, they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. Can you make me one? Well, yeah, I still have the pattern. I'll make you one. So it's always nice to have the pattern on hand and still have it. And although I've never had anybody say that to me, but it's always good to have them. Or you can loan them out to friends if they want to make their own. Or you can always lay them down on a photocopier and photocopy them for a friend. And I know that seems like a lot of pins, but we don't want it moving around a lot. We want to have it nice and even. Okay, now you're just going to want, see, I have the two pieces in there. Okay, and I'm just going to start cutting it out here. It's going to take a minute because this is kind of a bigger piece, but these are the cutest things ever. I worked on him on the blue one for days, and I did not think it would take me that long. Now, I mean, mind you, I wasn't doing it constantly. It wasn't like a constant thing, but it still took a lot longer than I had anticipated. And another nice thing to have on hand also is some embroidery scissors. Embroidery scissors come in handy when you're cutting out the tiny pieces. So I like to use those when I cut out the tiny pieces. But these are nice and sharp scissors, so I'm going to go with these right now. And this is a kind of a bigger piece, so it doesn't really matter. I'm still kind of racking my brain and trying to figure out how to assemble the carousel. So hopefully I can figure that out soon, because I really want to get the carousel. It's going to be like a mobile, and it's going to look like a carousel. And I'm trying to figure out how to go about doing that, because I want to do it differently from what the book suggests, because they want you to, bend wire and use cardstock and things that I don't have, but I do have some metal hoops on hand, and I could use those if I wanted. I ordered some metal hoops, and I had a lovebird. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2019, and I had her for a long time, and I had a bunch of feathers that she had dropped. You know, birds drop feathers now and again when they preen, and I didn't know what to do with them. I just had them in a jar for years, and so a few days ago I found a bunch of beads. They're about her color, and I actually made a little dream catcher with her feathers, and it turned out so lovely. It was so adorable. I was very happy with it. So that was kind of I was like, why did I not think of this sooner? type of thing. But, you know, it's so pretty. I hung it up here in my room. I really like it. I think she'd be happy with it. Just cut out here. The only bad thing about making this guy is that he kind of gets caught up in things because he's got that big old tail. I'm going to go this way. Sorry, I might be off camera here. I want to get that out there right. There we go. All righty. Got that. I'm going to bring you up a little. There we go. Take our pins out here. And there is our base, our body part there. And we need 2 of those pieces. And you might not be able to double it up. If not, that's fine. Go ahead and go single with it. Even that out a little bit. Alrighty. There we go. Got our 2 pieces. Now, we're going to need a wing. And I kind of like to do, obviously, a color that's going to be a little different. I like to save my pieces that aren't too small. So I'm going to save my scraps here. Put those aside. So I chose this pink to go for the wing here. So I wanted this one to be kind of pinky. And you're going to need 2 wings, 1 for each side. I'm going to do the fold thing again. Fold it over. Just going to snip that off of there. And I always save my scraps. You know, there's always something you can do with the scraps. Pin that on there. Just like that. And just start cutting around it. I like to kind of hold it with my thumb in places that it's kind of lifting up, so we know we got it all in order here. Good. Kind of groom it a little bit. This piece here, whoops, dropped it. This one piece here didn't turn out quite even. I'm gonna move my piece aside here. Where was it? Right there. It's a little bit off. think I'm about due for new embroidery scissors. Mine are getting a little bit dull. So there's our wings. There. Okay. And then next we're going to want to we'll do the feet real quick. And I used orange for those. And we're going to need 2 of those. Pretty sure no, that's not going to fit on that one. Thought maybe it would, but it's not going to. So we'll just do this. You always want to make sure that your pattern, that it's all covered, that you're going to have enough fabric for that. I'll kind of pin it on here. Try and make sure not to hit the pin with your scissors. Actually, I might use my other scissors for this. I don't know if they'll cut though. Try. We'll give it a try. Yeah, my scissors are getting kind of dull. That's too bad. I've used them too much. These are my cross-stitching scissors, so I've used them a lot. Got a lot of cross-stitch going on. It's kind of nice to do other things. I've cross-stitched for so many years, and that's all I did. That's like all I did. And I did amazing stuff. I did some really cool stuff, but you kind of get sick of doing the same old thing after a while. So it's always nice to kind of take a break and do other things. And there's our feet. Get 2 of those guys there. 2 little feet. And then we're going to have to do we'll do the eye flash here. We're going to need 2 of these. I'm going to do these separate. That's my little scissors. It's a tiny thing here. And I just hold it when it's tiny like this. I'll just hold on to it. Make sure it doesn't move around on you. Just need 2 of these. There's one. Do another one here. Okay. Okay, we got 2 of our eye flashes. There we go. Get rid of this stuff here. And then on our wattle, we're going to need red. And we're going to need 2 of these too. These aren't too hard to get out here, so I'll just use my nice new sharp scissors. I just bought these. I love these scissors. They're great for leather. I made my very first medicine bag the other day, and I gave it to my husband, and it's turned out really nice. So I was excited about that one. But I didn't have anything to cut my leather, and luckily I found these. And I didn't know this, but when you buy scissors, I went to the sewing area. I usually buy just like regular, standard scissors, cheap ones. And there they have ones for different fabrics in different weights, and it's really kind of a nice thing. So this one, I believe they didn't have any heavyweight ones, but this was a medium weight one, and they're really nice and sharp, and I actually did cut my finger with it when I first got them. So be cautious. They will get you. Okay. I do believe that is all our pieces cut out there. I'm going to kind of shape this a little. There we go. Can't save that. I'm going to do one more of these guys. And then, all right, so we got our pieces cut out. Save our pattern because I'm making 3 of these. The carousel is 3 horses and 3 roosters. So we are going to have 2 pieces for the body. Okay. And then we want 2 wings like that. 2 pieces for the feet because we are going to sew these and stuff them. And 2 eye flashes like that. And 2 of the wattles. Okay. And that is going to be the start of our rooster there. And now we can get into our sewing. All right. So for our first step, we're going to sew on his eye. And remember, when we do this, we have to do both sides. So I like to flip mine like this. That's really crooked there. Hang on, I gotta fix that. That's not looking very good. I guess that'll be covered up by the wattles, so it doesn't really matter. There we go. Okay, now for the eye, we're gonna want I would say either a medium or a larger size sequin. I think these are medium sized, I do believe. So these are tinier ones here. They're really tiny. We'll use those for the tail. So what color of eye should we do? I think I'm going to go with a gold eye because a lot of birds have yellow eyes. Oops, sticking to me here. So we're going to need 2 gold sequins for his eye. And then for the embroidery floss to sew it on, that's up to you, whatever color you want to use. I think I'm going to go with yellow. And we will take our floss here. I already have a piece separated, looks like. But as before in my other video, I demonstrated to separate your embroidery floss. Just kind of give it a little push. Let me bring you in a little. And then grab your one end and hold it, and then pinch this side, and then just pull through. And that will separate your embroidery floss. Now for a needle, you can use a sharp needle if you wish, but it's felt, so you don't, because things go through felt super easy. I'm just using a blunt needle, and it's a fairly large needle, so it's easy to work with. And then something that really helps is a needle threader for that embroidery floss. If you don't have one, it might be a little more difficult, but most sewing kits and things have them in them. If you don't have one, you can always check your sewing kit. There might be one in there. Now I'm just going to stick my needle on there and thread my embroidery floss. I'm using 2 skeins or 2 threads of the skein for the eye. And then I'm going to put a quick knot in the bottom of it. And that is basically, use a little slobber, kind of lick your finger, take your thread, wrap it around, and then pull, kind of roll and push, and then take your other finger and make a knot. Really easy knot to make. Now we want to line this eye up pretty good, and I like to have mine back a little further. Not that far. Let's see if I can line it up here. I think about there would be about perfect. And then I just kind of hold it with my forefinger and my thumb where I want it to be. Just come up through that center hole like that and bring your thread through. And then see these little lines there on them? I use that as a guide, and I'm going to put my needle through right next to one of those lines, and I'm going to go all the way around like that. So I'm going to put my needle through there like that, and come back up again, line it up with that next line, like that, and again, till we go all the way around. Sometimes it's hard to find the center of our sequin. Like that. And the last one, I think there's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so 6 little lines on that sequin. There we go. And there's our eyeball. Okay. And I'm just going to knot that off on the back. Just a quick little loop knot here. There we go. And snip that off. I'm going to sew my other eyeball on here. Get that other sequin on his other eye, and I will be right back. All right, so I got my 2 eyes sewn on there. Now, when you do this, make sure that you're, I like to do both sides at the same time. Like I'll do a design on one, and then I'll do the design on the other. But if you do that, make sure it's a mirror image. So one on here and one on here, mirrored. So you don't want to do it like this, because then it's not going to connect, okay? So you have to make sure that it's a mirror image, because we're sewing these 2 together and we want them on each side to look uniform with one another, okay? So always make sure that you're doing a mirror image. So do one side and then do the other, or whichever, right or left, left or right, whichever. So we're going to do the, what do you call it? I don't even know what you call this stitch. I forgot. But we're going to do this stitch through here, okay? Now this kind of curls up and around, and it's kind of a interesting little pattern on here. So I'm going to take a pencil, because I'm using a very light colored felt. I don't want to use a black marker on this. So I'm going to use a dull pencil. When they're sharp, they don't work well because it's felt. But if you need to, you can, if you're like this one, it was a dark color. So I used marker, and you can't see the marker. See how it's a darker color. And I even did it on the tail. You can't see that on this one. So I'm going to use a pencil on this one, just because I don't want it to come shining or to come through very much. And what you're going to want to do is you want to kind of bring a pattern down. It's kind of confusing. It's kind of coming from up behind the eye and down, okay, and then it kind of circles around the tail, okay. And I'm drawing mine on there as just kind of as a guide, so I know where I'm going. And I don't even know if you can see it, because it is rather light with the pencil. But it's something that just kind of keep me going in the right direction, basically. And I kind of like to go to this point and then come back. It's a little bit like right here. And then up and down. And if you're using a darker felt, you're going to have to use a marker, because you're not going to see pencil on a darker felt. Now, if you're using like a baby pink, or I don't know about white, it's really going to come out. So you're going to have to be real gentle with it. But you can kind of see that. And don't worry, when you stitch, that's not really going to come through, okay? And there's so much detail on these guys that it's not a big deal. So for the other side, I kind of like to try and line it up as best I can, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be a little hard to do, but do your best. Like I said, you want a mirror image, but it's hard to line them up perfectly. And then our tail, bring that around. Down. Sometimes it helps me to do it upside down. That way, we kind of have a guide. It's not perfect, but it's close. Okay, so we have our little design drawn on there. Now for this design here, I use the same color of floss as I use for my wing. So my wing's like this darkish purple color. So I'm going to use this darkish pinkish. I'm sorry, these are dark pink, and so I'm going to use a dark pink for the color on this, okay? And I'm going to just do 2 strands. Oh, that's rather short. I think I'm going to do a different. We'll start a new one here. Okay. And so we'll just tip tap the top and then just grab an end here. Oh, I think I got 2. Yeah, I got 2 in there. Make sure you're only grabbing one at a time when you do this to separate your floss. Okay, and then just pull through. There's one. We need one more of those. And I found embroidery floss is the best thing to bring out design and shape in felt and fabrics when you're doing stuffed animals and plushes, and there's a lot of color choices, and it's really easy to sew with. So I would highly recommend that you use embroidery floss. And it's not that much. You can get it for cheap. So you don't have to worry about spending a lot of money on that. We're going to thread up here. This is a running stitch basically. And then it's weaved. So it's like a weaved running stitch. And we'll get more into that as we go with this here. So get that knotted up. Am I catching on my fingers here? Okay. Now, the running stitch is really simple. Whoops, bump into you there. I'm going to start at my tail. I'm going to bring my needle up through. You don't want to get too close because you don't want it to fall out of there. So you take your needle and you go in and, try and stay on that guideline there. In and out and in, and just kind of go just not too terribly far from one another. See, and it'll create that stitch there. You don't want to go too far from the others. See how I'm going kind of in and out, and then I'll go in again, pull it through. It's going to create just a little run, okay? It's really quick, really simple. And in, up, and in, up. You can kind of bunch your fabric together if you want. Don't pull too tight, though. It'll bunch it up. And when I meant bunch up your fabric, I meant as you stitch it. You don't want to have it bunched when you're done stitching it. And this looks not too great until you get those weaves in. Then it'll look really nice. So you see kind of what we got going on there. We go back in and up and in again and up and again like that. We'll give it a pull through here. And get caught up as we do it. There we go. Like that. Up. And up. And if you find you're getting bunched up or having a hard time, then you can pull through and start again. It only takes a minute though. And in. And I'm going to call that good there. Okay, so there we have our running stitch. And that is basically just kind of running the thread through. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to start weaving in and out of those stitches. Okay, and what I mean by weaving in and out, we're going to literally weave in and out. So I'm going to take my thread because it's coming out. See, it's coming out from this thread here. And I'm going to take it kind of to the center of that. Okay, and I'm going to pull it up through the felt. And then I'm going to bring my needle underneath that thread, just like that, okay? And then I'm going to go underneath this thread in the opposite direction. See, I'm going this way from this one. I'm going this direction. So for this one, I want to go this direction, okay? And it's going to kind of create a little wavy wave, kind of like that, okay? And then what you want to do is you want to pin that down so it doesn't, because otherwise it's going to move around and it's not going to stay in place. And we need that to stay in place. And I don't like to make my waves too large on him because he's not a very big, whoops, I forgot to go through my thread. Derp. Because he's not a very large project. So I don't like to make my waves too gigantic on him. Where did I put my threader? There it is. I like to go through and do all my waves, and then I come back behind them, and then I pin them, because then if I need to adjust my waves, I can. See, if I were to pin this now, then I wouldn't be able to move it, okay? So I'm going to keep doing my waves. I'm going to go under this time. And I'm going to go over on this one. And then you can add and adjust them as you go if you do it this way. And then you can go back and pin them where you want them. And under. And see, it's creating that kind of wave pattern. I want this one a little bit smaller here. Here we go. And you know, if you put your stitches closer together, you're going to have tighter waves. The further apart, you're going to have more wider waves. I kind of like them a little bit bigger because, I don't know, I just do. There we go. I think it looked nice on him. It kind of looked like a saddle or something because, you know, they are carousel animals. So I'm going to get caught on his head, though. See, that's the trouble with this guy. It's his head and his tail get caught up a lot. I need to pull that out a little bit. There we go. And this one out a little. See, now you can adjust that. If I would have pinned those, I couldn't have done that. And I want to be able to adjust them and make sure they're where I want them before I make anything set in stone and permanent. And, you know, this is a longer project. I'm not going to lie. This isn't an easy project. But if this is something like you're into, say you like these types of decorations and things, then they're totally worth it. You're not going to see anything like them anywhere. And they're going to be handmade by you, and it's something that you're going to be able to enjoy. Say you have a friend who's having a new baby, it would make a beautiful mobile for a baby. It would make a really cool mobile just, say, in your kitchen, or for a kid, like one of your children, for their bedrooms. So there's a lot of possibilities with this. I personally am making this for myself because I really liked it and I really wanted to make it. So this is something that I would kind of really wanted to do. And one more. So there we see our little wavy lines, and they look pretty good. There's a few I kind of want to adjust. That's the good thing about this, is that you can go through and adjust them however you want them. And see, luckily I used pencil, or that would have been really showing through. So now, since we have all those done, we can go through and pin them. So what you want to do is, we finished and we came through this last little hoop here. You want to come down on that. Let's adjust a little first. Okay, you come down on that. And now we're going to go through and we're just going to pin them. And to pin them, you just want to go through about the center. And you just bring your needle up and bring it back down. Don't pull too tight, or that'll straighten all the rest of your waves. And that just pins that right down. So that's a nice way to do it. I mean, you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to pin it, but I would highly recommend it. And then for the next one, just go towards the, interrupt through the next one in the middle, and then come down on the other side like that. And the next one. And you just do that all the way down the body. Come up in the middle and come down on the other side of the thread and pin the thread down. And see, that makes it a lot flatter and a lot sturdier. One more time, we'll go up this next one. Okay, there, pull through and go on the other side of that thread and pin it down. And you just do that all the way to the other end. I'm going to finish doing mine. I'm going to do the other side of him, and I will be right back. All right, I got my little pattern done here on both of them. Now, as you can see here, I also have some here above the eye. So we're going to do that real quick. This one's easy. You can just eyeball it. You just need a few little stitches in there. It doesn't take a lot. So I'm just going to come up back here behind the eye. And I'm going to do the same slip stitch here as I did with the other parts. I'm just going to kind of go up and down and up and down. Across here. Okay, just like that. I'm going to bring one more down, about right there. They don't have to be very big slip stitches because we're going around the eye. And I like to kind of gauge what direction I need to go. So I need to be coming down because I want the hoop to go up like this over the eye instead of down, because you don't want to go over your sequin. So come back up here, and then we'll go through there, and then come up through here, that, and then back down through here. There we go. And I'm just going to come back down in through the felt. And I'm going to pin these real quick. Just like that right there. All right, and that's all of our slip stitches with the weaving. So we have some a little bit above the eye, and then it comes back behind the neck and down on the body and around the tail. And that is that for the first part of our embroidery. Now next we're going to do some fly stitching. And the fly stitch is very simple indeed. And it's going to be, I'll show you on this other guy here, like these blue ones here, okay, like the little V's. And we're going to do that around the tail, okay, or not around the tail, but up through here around the neck, just that area right there. Now you can pick any color that you want. I'm going to I think I'm going to stick with blue on that. I kind of have a turquoise blue color here. I'll cut some. And I'm going to do 2 strands. Just 1, 2. Put these back together here. And we'll thread up our needle. Now the fly stitch isn't difficult, and the easy thing about this is we can use what we've already stitched as a guide to where we're going to put our stitches. Now, what we want to do is I'm going to put them in the ones that dip down this way. So these here, this one here, this one here. I'm not going to do them on the other side, okay? So we'll start at this one right here. And what you want to do is you want to go in one hole, or just, I'd go to the left a little, okay? And then pull through, and then go over to the right a little bit, like that, okay? Put your needle in, pull through, not all the way. Now leave a little, you're going to want to leave a little loop there like that. And then you're going to want to bring your needle back up. See, this is going to be what creates the V. And so you figure, if you look at it here and you put your, say you put your right here, that's how high your V is going to be. I like to kind of keep mine a little bit in line height-wise with the other little loops that we've already made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up probably about right there. And then when you come up, and I lose it, bring your needle to the opposite side of that thread so that when you pull your needle up and through like this thread here, okay, the one that you've brought up, is going to catch that hoop and create that V pattern like that, okay? And then we'll pin it down. So go on the other side of that hoop and go through like that. And that is our fly stitch. Let me bring you in a little bit closer here. Maybe move you in a little bit. Sorry, we're getting a little bumpy right here. So I don't, cut off and start anew. I just jump over because nobody's going to see the back of this. So I'm going to bring my needle up See, this is the down slope and then the up slope, and then we're going to put one again in this down slope. So I'm going to put my needle up through on the left side for the left arm of the arrow. And then I'm going to put my needle on the right side like that. And just bring it through. Leave that little hoop. Don't pull all the way. So leave a little hoop when you come through. And then bring your needle up above both those threads, okay? And make sure that needle is coming up and under that thread because you want that to catch when it comes up through. So pull it through like that, and you'll see it catch that hoop like that. And there's your fly stitch, and then you just put your needle, see your hoops here, and you're going to want to put your needle through right next to where you came up, just to tack down that tip, just like that. And I'm going to do the rest of this up to the tail here. Okay, so I got the little fly stitches stitched in here. And I go to probably about this part of the tail. I don't go on to this part because we're going to be sewing sequins and other things in that area. So I usually leave that area open on that. And then we got our top part by our head sewn on. And so we're going to we need to put some sequins up here. And you're going to need smaller sequins for this. So these little guys right here will be perfect for that. Now, you can go with any color you want. I have a gold eye here, and I think I'm going to go, let's see, we got yellow, silver, blue, green. Looks like we got a red in there. I don't think there's any oranges or anything, but as I get them everywhere, I do think that I will go with the pink color here. And we're going to need 3 of the small sequins of the color that you choose. Actually, I think I might do blue. I think I'm going to do blue. Why? Because that's why. So there's 1, 2, getting them everywhere. Okay. And 3. So I've got 3 sequins there. And we want to put those on above the head here. Okay. And this one's going to get a little close to that piece, but that's okay. But we do want to have a space in between because we are going to put some stitches in between here. I kind of like to put them on here and see where I'm kind of eyeball it and kind of see where I want to put stuff. So as far as that goes, I think something about like that's going to be just perfect. And I'm going to use blue because it matches the sequin. I gotta get some more thread here. 1 second. All right, I got my needle threaded with my knot on the end here, and I'm gonna put this first one on, and I'm just gonna kind of hold it there with my thumb and forefinger, and I'm only gonna put 4 stitches onto the sequin to hold it on. Just so more color kind of comes through on that sequin. And it's a smaller one, so we don't need quite as many. Just like that. There we go. That's our first one there. And we'll put the second one on here. And I kind of like to keep a even space in between. That should be good. Right there. We're just going to do this with all 3 of these here real quick. go. And the last one here. I think about right there would be fine. Just like that. Okay. And so you should have 3 sequins attached right there on the crest of the head there. Now, what we're going to do is debating on if I want to use the same color or not. Let me see what I got for my colors over here. I think I will. Just 1 second. Actually, I think I'm going to use red for what we're going to do next. So I'm going to tie this off. I was debating on using the turquoise, but I've used a lot of it, and I like these to be really multicolored. So I'm going to use red on it. So I'm going to thread up my needle with some red floss here. It's easy to get caught up in that tail while you're working. So 1 second, I'm going to thread this up. Okay, I got all threaded up here. And in between these 3 sequins, we're going to do fly stitches. And we want to do 3 fly stitches. So we'll do one here. Remember, we go next to our thread here. We go right next to it. Don't pull all the way through. And then we're going to want to come up. I like to come up a little ways on this. And you want that thread going with that hoop, the hoop. You know, you want that needle to go through that hoop so it kind of tacks it up and makes that V. And then we'll pin that. Like that. There we got one. We'll put another one right here. And leave your little hoop. Sometimes the thread likes to twist a little. That's all right. It'll work itself out. I'm going to go probably about right there. Make sure that needle's in front of that hoop coming up. So it grabs that thread. Makes another little V. Pin that down. Just like that. And we'll do that again over here. And it doesn't matter if it goes a little towards the back of the crest. It'll all work itself out. Whoops, entangled there. Come up about right here. Snag on our loop there. And we will pin that. Just like that. And there we have that design on the head. Like that. And I'm going to tie that off. Just a regular little hoop tie, double knot. Just like that. All right. And you're going to want to do that on both sides of your rooster here. So I'm going to do my other side and I'll be right back. All right, so I got mine done on both sides here. I'm kind of feeling like this guy is a little bit off from that guy, but that's okay. I think they still look nice. So our next step is to do the crest of the head, and you're going to need your pencil again, or marker, or pen, or whatever you're using. And we're going to want to make 3 lines for the crest here. Now I like to start with the outside line, so we kind of know what we have to work with. And, like I said, this is pretty faint, but that's okay. You want it to be faint. You don't want it to come showing up and where people can see it. This is going to be our little stripes coming through. And I like to bring this one all the way down. Like that. And you can see that. I'm pretty sure you can see that there. Okay, so there's our first little feather stripe. And these are easy. We're going to do chain stitch for these. So we need one. And I like to space them as close as evenly as I can. This is just a guide here. Kind of guide us in the right direction. And that way, when we stitch, we kind of know where we're going. I'm going to do that real quick on this side. Nope, got stuck there. And you don't have to do this, but like I said, I'm kind of oh my goodness, hang on a second. Okay, sorry about that. My other cat, Kilala, was jumping on the top of my bookcase and knocking things down. And she did that a while back ago and killed my cactus. I had a really nice little cactus that was growing very well, and she demolished him. So, yeah, she's full of it. I don't know what to do with her sometimes, I swear. But sorry about that interruption. Okay, where were we? I don't even remember what I was saying now. So, sorry. Must not have been too terribly important. Okay, so we have our little crest shapes drawn in. And for the feathers here, I'm going to consider these feathers, I guess, because that's what they would be in real life. I like to do yellow, red, and then blue. So I'm going to start with our yellow here, because that'll kind of give us a basis of where the rest can go, and if we got our stripes put on nice. I do 2 strands of my yellow embroidery floss. I got it all threaded here and knotted it on the end. And I'm going to we're going to do a chain stitch for all of these. And so we're just going to bring our needle up through here. Bring our needle up like that. And then we want to take our needle and go next to where we came up and go in. And we want to go out a little bit like that. And then take this thread hanging out where we first entered and bring it up and behind that needle. Kind of wrap it up over the top. And then just pull through, and that'll give you your first chain, okay? And then you don't have to pin this down because we're going to make more chains. So we just go through where the thread is coming up. See, our thread's coming up here at the top of the hoop. And so we'll just put our needle through next to that and come up, try and go about the same distance. And leave your needle in there, and then take that thread and stick it behind the needle and pull through. You don't want to pull too terribly tight. I like to go a little bit, but not like, you still want to see the hoop there. You don't want it super tight. And we'll continue going on down through, go back in next to the thread, come back up, put your thread behind, like that, and pull through, just like that. And it's a nice simple stitch, but it creates a really great design. It's really pretty, adds a lot of detail, but it's nice and simple. And we're just going to keep going all the way to the base of that crest. Whoops. And you want to try and keep your chains kind of uniform, but I don't do so good at it. But you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect. As long as we got our design going, that's all that matters. Keep working that down through. Yeah, my female cat, her name's Kilala. She is trouble. And you know, she's a tiny little thing, and she is a feisty little thing, and she is curious as into everything. She likes to steal my stuff. She will take hair ties and jewelry and anything she can get her hands on that's mine, and run off with it and hide it and stash it away. So I kind of have to keep her out of my room. I don't like to keep the kitties out. I like them in here because I know they like to be in here, but she causes so much chaos that I really have to keep an eye on her. She's broken a lot of things. Her newest thing is she's broken the side of my blinds. You know how cats will kind of push their way through the blinds? Well, she pushed so many times that it bent them back, and they're like falling off. They're not gonna be fixed. But you know what? It is what it is. I guess I should just kept them open a little bit. She loves to look out the window, but I figure at night, what the heck you looking at? There's nothing going on out there. But who knows? Cat logic, right? Cat logic. I like to go all the way to the end here. Not like crazy to the point, but I don't like a gap there. I like to go through to the end and have it go all the way down with this stitch. And we'll pull through. There we go. And I'm going to take my needle because I'm done with that, and I'm going to, pin it down. So I'm going to stick my needle on the other side of the thread and just pin it down and get caught on the rest of everything. And that's our first little crest on there. Okay, and I'm going to tie that off. And because I have it threaded, I'm going to do my other side. But I will pause while I do that so it doesn't take up your whole day. These things do take a while, but that way you can kind of work on yours too. Alrighty, I will be right back. See, that looks really pretty there. I don't know what I did here. My stuff's a little floppy and loose. I might have to figure out how to maybe tie that down. I will be right back while I do the other yellow part on the other side. All right, we got the yellow crest on there. Trim that just a touch. There we go. So we got the yellow crest on there. I pinned that weird loose piece down. Now we're going to do the red. So we'll get threaded with our red here. Like that. Now I try to keep kind of an even spacing. We'll do what we can. I don't know. This is going to be our middle color here. And we're going to do the same stitch, the chain stitch on those. And I'm going to try and do the same spacing. If not, no big deal. This adds a really a lot of nice detail to the crest here. And it's like a real rooster would be with all the colors on the top of his head. The tail is where a lot of our detail comes in. There's a lot going on that tail, but it is what it is. It makes it look absolutely beautiful. Just take your time with every little stitch and make it personal, make it fun. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you still want it to look nice and even and uniform as best you can. Just stitch that through here. Do one smaller one here at the end. Actually, yeah, we'll do a small one here. Shade's over there snoring again. I made him a little pillow and he's laying there with his head on the pillow. Like a person, snoring away, bless his little heart. Here we go, and we will tie that off. On the back here. Oh, I hope I was in range of the camera there. I'm sorry. Sometimes I forget. Okay. There's our red crest. There at the top. Nice and pretty. I'm going to snip this off here on the back. Like that. There we go. And we'll do the other side. And actually, I'm going to do that real quick and be right back. All right, and the last one on the head here is going to be blue or turquoise. I did turquoise, so last one's going to be your turquoise thread. Get our needle threaded here. And this one is, if I can talk, this one isn't as large of a crest as the other ones. And it's just the same steps, really. I mean, you just want to kind of gauge the distance and then just arch your way through around the head here. And this one's going to be a little shorter. Caught up in my tail here. There we go. The tail is easy to get caught in.
Think I'm done for the night.
Right, and one more in there. Get that over, there we go. And we'll pin that down. Just like that. And there's our last and final crest. Like I said, it's going to be a little smaller, but that's okay. Got it on there. That's all that matters. It's just about the little details. And we'll put a little quick double knot in there. Like that. Give it a snip. Our next area of focus is going to be this giant tail to cover, but it's pretty easy. We got our sequins put on, and then we do another chain stitch with some little tiny stitches, and then some seed beads and another chain stitch with more sequins and more chain stitch and some bugle beads. So this is quite extensive on the tail there. So I'm going to do my other side of my crest here on my head, and then we will get started on the sequins on the tail. Right, so I had to start a new day. I was getting kind of tired there. This is a long project. Like I said, it's gonna be a little time consuming and take up a lot of time, but I mean, seriously, the outcome is totally worth it. They're so beautiful, so pretty, and unique. So we got all this sewed in, got his eye on there, got his crest finished. Now we're going to start working on the tail here. Now, I like to start at the bottom and then kind of work my way up. And I'm going to start here. We have our sequins that we're putting on there. So we're going to do our sequins first. And you're going to need small sequins for those. And you're going to need 6 of them. And I'm going to stick with the blue like I did with his head up here. Because like on this one, I did the pink ones up here and the pink ones down here. So I'm going to stick with blue sequins for mine. So I'm going to pick out 6 of them. I know this sounds weird, but I have a little shell that I put my stuff in when I work. It keeps it from disappearing and running away from me. 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so we're going to need 6 sequins there, and I'm going to do the corresponding color to the sequin, which is going to be like the blue. I'm not using a dark blue. I'm just going to use my turquoise, and I'm going to use 2 strands. And I already have 2 strands here left over from the last, so I'm just going to separate those to kind of even it out real nice. And I don't know if you'll probably be able to tell from the last section that I was kind of tired. So I had worked and it was late, so I might have sounded a little sleepy. So hopefully it all made sense. Now we need a needle here and we'll get it loaded up. And you know, it's not so much that they're complicated, it's more that they have a lot of detail. And that's the thing with these. There is a lot of detail going on with these guys. Now I'm going to take my sequins and I'm going to kind of look and see where I want to line these up and how. And I kind of like to, just to make sure that they're all going to go and to kind of figure out my spacing. What's up, Shade? What? He's over here talking. I think him and his sister are going to finally start getting along with one another. So I am very happy about that. She was kind of grumpy towards him for a while. So you're going to want to kind of do a little something like that. I'm actually going to bring this down a little. I want that a little bit closer to the tail. And kind of just bring that arch. This is just kind of gauging it and seeing where things are going to go. And as you put them on, you can kind of go from there. So that's going to work for me there. I'm going to just put my finger there so it stays. Now, I'm going to pick that up. And we got our knot in our thread here. Let me bring you in just a little bit, kind of far away. And just like we did the other ones, I'm only going to do 4 thread throughs to connect it because these are small sequins, so we don't need a whole heck of a lot of thread to hold these onto here. And if you want to get the experience to sew and everything, this is a great project for that. For embroidery, my tail from my knot came through. But if you already have the experience, it might go a little faster for you. It just kind of depends. And I like to take my time and make them all pretty special and make them look really nice. Because if you're gonna put time into a project like this, you just as well take your time and make it look really nice. And this is something that's going to last a long time. You're going to have this for a long time, or if it's a gift, you really want it to look nice. So we have our first sequin on there. Now we need to get another one. We're going to do this with 6 of them. I'm going to go probably about right there. And they're easy enough to put on. The tail, I think, is what takes the longest amount of time because it's so large and there's a lot of detail. But it looks so cool once you get all the different stitches and beads and everything applied to it. So it's totally worth the time. You just work your sequins on. Yeah, I was trying to get this finished and I knew I wouldn't be able to do the video in one shot. I knew it was going to take me a couple days because this guy here took me 3 or 4 days to make. And, yeah, I wasn't working on it the whole time constantly, but they're pretty involved. So, like I said, it's going to be a longer video and you don't have to do it all in one shot because, man, that would be a endurance challenge, I believe, but you can pause it or bookmark it and come back and as you go. And once you get one done, you can always go off of the one that you've done for instructions and then you won't have to watch the video over and over again. Because for the carousel, there's going to be 3 of these. We're going to have 3 horses and we're going to have 3 roosters. And they're going to hang from the carousel or mobile or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to have to make 3 each to do the whole carousel. Now, like I said, you don't have to do the carousel, but even if you want to make a mobile, I would recommend at least a couple each so it kind of fills in nice and looks nice. Okay, there's our 3rd one. And I need to bring my pin cushion over a little bit. It's kind of far away. I cleaned my house today, got my house all cleaned up because I want to just be able to enjoy the Easter weekend. I'm not doing anything, but it's always nice to just rest and not have any obligations. I do miss going out and seeing my nieces and nephews and family and doing an egg hunt and things like that. So it's kind of hard to not be able to do those things, but I live a lot further away from them all than I used to. So it's been kind of hard being away from everybody, but I'm thinking about them. That's for sure. But it'll be nice. I think we're going to have really nice weather, which will be nice, and maybe I can go out to the park or go take a walk or something. Get out in nature a little bit and explore. Another one here. I think I maybe separated them more than I thought I did, but that's all right. I think it'll still look cool. And that on there. I like the sequins because they add such a nice little sparkle to him. And then, as they hang and kind of move around, they really catch the light. It makes it really pretty. And we'll do one more here. That's my air conditioner running in the background. I'm sorry, it might be kind of loud, but we don't have central air. And last year I didn't have air conditioning in this room. And so I went out and got myself a little, it's like a floor air conditioner on wheels. And you hook it up to your window or whatever, like a tube up to your window. And it works so nice. It's going to be really nice not sweating all summer. I told my husband, I said, I have to have an air conditioner in my craft room because beading and things like that are impossible when you're sweating because you're going to just drop those beads. So it'll be nice to have that. I know it's supposed to get hot this weekend too. almost up to the 90s already. So went from being cold straight to hot. But I'm prepared this year. Alrighty, so there's our sequins. That looks nice. I'm going to flip this over and we'll just do a little double knot, tie it off. The sequins go pretty quick. I like doing the sequins. And like I said, I'm going to do my other side, like all the other steps here. And, like with however you want to do it, I like to do, if I'm doing one side, I like to go ahead and go do the same on the other side, because if I have thread, I don't have to thread my needle. I don't have to switch out my thread for the colors and things like that. It just makes it a little bit easier to do both sides as you go. So I'm going to do my other side of my sequins, and then we will do our next step here. All right, so I got that finished with the sequins on both sides there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fill in the rest here with stitches. There are going to be some more sequins and some beads. Now I'm going to take my marker, and I know I used a pencil before, but that's because this is a open stitch and you don't completely cover it with that. But I'm going to use a marker this time. I don't think it'll matter. I'm not going to press very hard. And I'm going to make basically a arch here for our next stitch. Now we are going to put straight stitches like right above these sequins. So we need to save space for our straight stitches. Now, I like to I'm just going to eyeball it obviously, but we're just going to, it's going to be real pale. Try to get it a little curved. Bring it down. Basically like that there. I'm going to do that on the other side here also. And sometimes that works better upside down. Sometimes it's whatever works for you, I guess. Okay, that looks pretty even there. Not really, but close enough. And I use red. Like I like to keep the yellow, red, blue colors in the tail like I do on the crest of the head. So I'm going to use red at the base. You can use whichever colors you like. And just 2 strands of floss here. Like we have through the whole thing. I think the whole rooster is 2 strands. And thread it up here. And we're just gonna put in a little chain stitch down this part of the tail. Do a quick knot here. Alrighty. And I like to start at this side of the tail. I don't start at the end, the bottom end. I like to start at this part here. I don't know why. That's just what I did. And with our chain stitch again, just come through, go back in next door to that thread and poke through a little ways. Bring our thread over the needle and pull. And we're going to do this all the way across this line that we've marked. And try and keep your chain stitch distance uniform. Do the best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. I know I don't do mine perfect, so. it's easy to get tangled up in his body and in his head, and he's kind of a awkward shaped little guy, but just kind of do your best. Make sure you're not getting tangled up. It's this tail like grabs stuff in his little beak and everything. Tends to kind of get caught up in the thread as you stitch. So if it's happening to you, you are not the only one, because it happens to me a lot. All right, just a couple more here. Go, and then we'll bring it back down the other side of that and pin it down like that. And there's our chain stitch. I might have pulled a little too tight, but that's okay. It is what it is. Now, don't take your thread off and don't tie it yet. What we're going to do is we're going to put little, whatchamacalls'em, I want to say seam stitch, but I know that's not right. It's straight stitches. Jeez. Derp. And we're going to put little straight stitches along here. Now, I mark mine just so things kind of look decent and stay uniform. You don't have to, but I'm just going to put little slash marks all the way down. And I kind of like to angle them a little bit because I think it looks cool. Just like that. And that way we kind of have them. I'm going to put another one over here. And that way we kind of have a little guide. Now we'll take our needle here and we'll just straight stitch them. And that's easy enough. You just come in at the bottom and go down at the top. And that's your straight stitch. Just easy peasy. But they add some really nice dimension to it. Just like that. And you can put as many as you want. I kind of like, I don't know, I kind of like that spacing there. I think it makes it look really pretty. So that's that side. That's just you have your chain stitch there, and then you have your kind of slanted straight stitches that go along the bottom in between the chain stitch and your sequence. So that's our next step for our rooster's tail here. I'm going to tie that off, and then of course I'm going to go and do my other side, and then we will do our next step on the tail for the tail decorations. But I think that looks really nice. That looks really pretty. Alrighty. Alright, so I got my both sides done here with this with the chain stitch and then the little stitches underneath it. So our next phase is we want to draw another little arch here. So we're going to do another chain stitch in a different color, and then we're going to do beads next to that. So, we have to save room because we're going to do a chain stitch with beads, and then we're going to do a row of sequins, and then we're going to do another chain stitch with the slit stitches, and then we're going to do bugle beads. So we still have 1, 2, 3, 4 more rows to do. So I would say probably about the same distance, because I like to put the beads close to the stitch. So I'm going to go, let's see, we'll do about, I kind of like to ease it in, kind of add a little point to it, if my marker will work. There we go. There we go. We'll just kind of, like we did on the other one. And I like to kind of make it not too pointed, but kind of arch it down a little. About like that. And I'm going to do that on my other side here. And I don't know, you don't have to do the drawing guide, but for me, it helps a lot. I am not a very good free stitcher. I tend to kind of go crooked. My husband jokes, "Oh, you have crooked eyes," because I hang something, it's crooked. I draw something, it's crooked. I'm not good with that. So I like to have a little guide for myself when it comes to something like this. And the next color I'm going to do this turquoise again. And like I said, I like to keep the same colors. I didn't put them in the same order, and I kind of like that, but the yellow was on the top, and then I did the red on the bottom here instead of the blue, and then I kind of swapped the blue and the red. But I think they look really nice that way. Kind of switch it up a little bit. And with the other sequins and the beads and things, it doesn't really matter because it makes it so colorful that it's not really that big of a deal. And again, we're going to just use the two threads on this one. So get 2 of those off our skein, and then we will put them together here. If I can find the end. There it is. There we go. And we'll thread up here. But at first they kind of look a little weird, but once you keep going and you start getting all these little details in, they look cooler and cooler with every single row of stitching or beads or sequins that we add. I do think this will be worth the work. This is a first for me. I've never done this, so we'll see how it goes. We're going to do another chain stitch here, just like we did on that first row. So easy peasy. They said something about one. They had done I believe it's called a snail stitch. And I couldn't figure it out, so I gave up and I was like, you know what, I'm just doing the chain stitches, and it's easy enough, and it simplified it a little bit, which I'm cool with because this is a complicated enough project the way it is. So I kind of just was like, I think that the chain stitches look fine. We don't need to get too much more complicated, and plus they're the same stitches as the horses that way, because we still have the chain stitch and the fly stitch like the horses have. I'm going to wrap that, whoops, get that caught around the body there. Go. Almost to the end here. Oops. Maybe. Jeez Louise. Getting all wrapped up. A couple more. Do one more here. And you don't want to go too close to the end. You can go down a little bit and angle it, but you don't want to go too close because we're going to be stitching them together. So pin that down, and I leave my thread on my actually, do I have a, I'm actually going to switch it up. So I'm going to tie this off. And the reason for that is because I'm not doing blue beads. I'm going to do a different colored bead. So I want to use a thread that is similar to the bead color that I'm using. Get that through there. There we go. And we'll give it a snip. So we got that. All right, so now for this part, I got my other part sewn on there. We're going to need our seed beads. And the seed beads I used is size 11. We're going to use size 11 seed beads. Let me find the one I want here. I'm going to use that one. And I don't know where I put my bead scoop. Hold on a second. Let me grab it. I'm going to just scoop a few out here. I'm going to bring you out a little bit. So I'm just going to scoop a few out because you don't need a whole lot of them. Just a few. So we got a few seed beads there. I'm going to use purple to kind of match my little rooster there. Now I'm going to use purple embroidery floss to match the beads. So what you're going to want to do is you want any color seed bead. You can use whatever you want. You gold, silver. You can use the color that matches your rooster. You can use any color you want. That's entirely up to you. It's your decision. I think the more color on these little guys, the cuter they are. So I'm going to use 2 strands of embroidery floss here. We'll thread those on. And there. Give it a little knot. And this isn't too difficult because I kind of use my chain stitch as a guide for where I put my beads. So basically for every chain stitch, I'm going to give it a bead. And I like to keep it kind of closer to the chain stitch because I think it looks really nice. Actually, I messed up because these are seed beads. You aren't going to be able to use a large needle for that I just dropped. And so you're going to have to switch over to a beading needle. And because I'm using embroidery floss, I just use my big eye needle because it's super easy to thread. And embroidery floss is thicker. And then we have 2 layers of it, so it's going to be harder to thread. But that's what makes these big eyes really nice. You just stick it right through. So I use my big eye, and it will go through the felt fine. It goes through it perfectly. So I forgot about that. So you're gonna need a beading needle for size 11 seed beads. So get your beading needle threaded. And like I said, the big eyes work great because they're super easy to thread. And, most beading needles have such tiny little eyes. So it's really hard to get them threaded. So I would recommend the big eye. And so I just go kind of here, see how there's the chain stitch here. And I kind of go off the side, obviously, and to the center of that. And I kind of keep it kind of close to the chain stitch there. Let me bring you in just a touch. And then we'll put our bead on. This is really easy. Just stick your bead on and then go back in right next to it. Don't have to be perfect. Just right next to it there and pull through. And that will put your bead on. Okay? Just like that. And then I'm going to go over to the next chain stitch. I'm going to go right next door to that one and pull through and add a seed bead. I'm using a metallic purple for this one. And then stick your needle back in. And just go all the way down the row like this. Then go to our next one here. But it's easy when you use the chain stitch as a guide because it kind of keeps it even along with your stitches. And it also spreads them out nicely. And it makes them look really nice. And it doesn't matter. You could put a whole bunch if you want. It's up to you. This is just how I did it. And, you know, they'll kind of lay different and kind of lay on the side and stuff. You can adjust that with your finger and set them up right. And then they'll set right for you. This adds a little more sparkle to everything. Stick that on there. Go over to this one. And you know, it depends on how closely you've chain stitched. That will depend on how close your beads are together. So if you had more tighter knit chain stitches or smaller chain stitches, then you're going to have beads that lay closer to one another. I don't like to look at that bead. It all just kind of depends on how you stitched your chain. And this just kind of adds a nice little dimension. A little more sparkle. And I like the metallic beads, and you could use the transparent beads would be really pretty. Something kind of shiny. And you could use opaque beads if you want. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to use. I kind of like the metallic because they kind of matched up nice with the sequins, I thought. And we're just going to take this all the way down next door to each chain stitch. Just like that. Whoops, I forgot to go through my derp. Gotta go through the fabric first. Silly me. Okay. Try that again. I'm getting ahead of myself. And then last one here. And that is our beads on there. How pretty is that? I love it. Okay. And we'll knot this, tie it off here. I kind of like to go in to my next place to knot so it doesn't get so close to the edge. There we go. And give it a snip. And that is our beads on there. How pretty is that? Love it. Absolutely love it. Now our next row, we are going to do some more sequins. I'm going to sew my beads onto this guy and then we will do our next one. Okay, so I got those all sewn on. Kind of had a little slight interruption, but it was a good one. I'll show you real quick. My husband went to the store and brought me home a little surprise. I gotta zoom out here. He brought me an Annabelle doll. How awesome is that? She's so spooky. Do not open. He knows I'm a really big fan of, put her back here. I'm a really big fan of Ed and Lorraine Warren. I've read a lot of their books and I love all the movies, and he saw that at the store and was like, I totally had to get that for you. And I was like, oh my God. So that was a nice, cute little surprise there. Something to add to my doll collection there. So our next step on here, I don't know, that might have scared. If you're younger, I'm sorry if that scared you. Annabelle is kind of spooky. So our next step here is we're going to do sequins, and I'm going to do silver. So we're going to do, you can pick whatever color you want. And there's quite a few of them on here. And we're just going to kind of line them up along the way. See how many we need. It's hard to pick out all the silver ones here. It's funny because the original Annabelle doll that Ed and Lorraine took that was haunted was actually a Raggedy Ann doll. And I was joking with my husband that I need to make one and set it next to her. That'd be funny. You know, when I was little, we had a Raggedy Ann doll. I think it was at my grandma's house. I think my grandma had it at her house. And Raggedy Ann and Andy. And the original Annabelle doll was incredibly haunted. And it was a Raggedy Ann doll. And it raised some havoc, I'm pretty sure. I haven't read the story on that one. But I have read quite a few different ones. One of my favorites by them is the Connecticut Haunting one. I can't remember the actual name of the book. The name of the book is something different, but I really like that one where they are actually living in they move into the house and it's actually like a old morgue, and the son is like staying in the room where they were preparing all the deceased people, and it starts kind of taking over him, and that's a really good, pretty freaky little story. But anyway, moving along here, I'm going to put the silver ones on here like this. I'm going to line them up real nice, and I'm going to use the same color as the felt for my rooster, and just kind of stick those along there and kind of arch them along with the arch. And after that, we have another row. It's going to be cutting it close, and then some beads. So I'm going to try and put these pretty close to my chain stitch. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of those on there, okay? And I'm going to just kind of knock those down off of there. And we'll put one of them on here. I'm going to put them as close as I can to my, I don't think I have a knot in my thread. Put them as close as I can to the chain stitch. I kind of wish I would have brought that one down just a little, but that's okay. It'll all work itself out. And I do the 4 stitches like I did in the others because they're small, little small sequins, and they don't need a whole lot to hold them on. So I'm going to put these on here, let you guys work on yours, because I don't think you need to sit here and watch me sew on sequins for 20 minutes. And then we will move on to the next row on the tail. So I will be right back. All right, I got my sequins on there. I think one had more than the other, and it looks as though my tails are a little bit off. I got a little more space here on this one than this one, but it is what it is. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add our next chain stitch, and I'm going to use the yellow embroidery floss. And it's basically the same thing as what we did down below. And that is your chain stitch like this, and then your little slip stitches here, or straight stitches. There, now that I finally said it. So it's chain stitches and then your straight stitches below. So I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to mark where I want it. And we need to leave enough room because we're putting bugle beads along the top here. So if you look at him, he's got bugle beads along the top of the tail. So we need to save enough space, but our straight stitches are going to be underneath the chain stitch, just like this other one. So you don't need a whole lot of room for those, which is nice and good on my case because I'm running out of room. So just enough to get yourself a few bugle beads in there. And I'm just making my little marks here. I'm going to add my slit stitch marks while I'm doing this. And you can do the same if you want. And that way you have a little guide. And then I'm going to do the same over here on this side. And I didn't leave very much space for myself over here. So I'm going to have to go a little closer to my sequins, I believe. Kind of more like that. It's a little closer, but that's okay. We can still get some little slit stitches in. We'll make it work. Now, I'm using yellow, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the red here. And I'm going to go through a couple of the stitches with you, just, I don't know why, just because I feel the need, I guess. And then I'm going to pause it and let you finish on your own. So basically, we just do what we did before. Come up and through, go in next to it, come up in front of it, and pull our thread behind. Just like that. It's just like our other chain stitches. And we're going to do that all the way across. Like that. So we're going to do that all the way across, and then we're going to keep our thread on there, and then we're going to just come up and back down and up and down and up and down to make all of our straight stitches. And that's all we're going to do, and that's on both sides. So I'm going to do that with mine, and I will be right back. All right, so I got those done up here. They kind of, they look even. They kind of look even. They kind of don't look even. Looks good enough for me. Now, the last step on the tail here We're getting so close to getting finished here. And it might get loud here. The tornado siren, it's just a test. Don't worry, I'm not gonna blow away or anything, is going off right now. So it might get loud here now and again. Sorry about that. So our next step is we're gonna add our bugle beads. And for mine, I believe these are a number 3 bugle bead. And I chose a red. So I chose the red bugle beads here. And basically, you're going to want to get your thread here. But again, we're going to want to use our big eye needle. So thread your needle onto your big eye beading needle like you did before. Get that threaded on there. We live right by the tornado siren, so it gets really loud, and they test it every Thursday. So what I do is I don't necessarily line them up with this chain stitch here. I just kind of eyeball it. So I bring my needle up through, and then we'll put a bugle bead on there, just like that. And then I kind of I'll take it, if I can get a hold of it, and I kind of line it up where I'm like, well, where do I want it? Do I want it like angled, you know? And so I'm going to take that and I'm going to stick that on there. And I'm going to stick my needle kind of beside it. And that kind of helps line it up where you want it to lay. And that's our first bugle bead. And so you just keep on doing that all the way around and all the way through. I have a purple bugle bead, but I wanted something a little more vivid. I wanted something that would come out a little bit more, you know, kind of pop out. So I went with red. And I did blue on the other one because he's blue. I just didn't think that it kind of came out enough on that. And sometimes it helps to lay it down. It actually helps a lot to lay it down and kind of figure out where you want to put your bead. And bring it through. And this is our last step on our tail. I can't believe we're finally getting somewhere. I'm telling you, I knew it was going to be a long video, and I'm sorry. I hope you guys can get through it, but it's totally worth it. I swear it is totally worth it. And do that again. You can kind of gauge how much you want them separated, how far apart you want them. That's up to you, how close you want them, how far apart. I like a few, but I don't like too many. It gets kind of excessive. And I kind of like to put them at an angle, kind of make it look like it's tails, part of the tail. Do another one. You don't have to do too many because you don't really have a lot of space left at this point on the tail. But this kind of adds a nice little sparkle to the end of the tail and really brings it out nice. But this is size 3, I believe. And then I think these might have been size 4. They were a little smaller. So it's kind of up to you. I probably wouldn't go over size 3 because they might be too large for that. Like that. And as I get closer to the end of the tail, I like to angle it a little more, and then I'll put like 1 or 2 going just sideways on there. If I can pick them up, goodness. Because, as you go, you run out of space a little bit. And so what I do is I will angle it as I go, and then when I get to that point, I can just lay a couple down to kind of fill it in. I kind of went too far on that. I'm going to redo that one. Actually, yeah, it's all right because we're pretty close to the end here. So I'm just going to put another one right here. And that should be enough. You don't need too many. Yeah, see, that's plenty. I put one sideways like this on the end. Just like that. And that is bugle beads on the bottom of it, which looks really cool. And that is our tail and our body. That's all the stitching for now till we start putting them together on our body. And our next step is going to be the wings. And that will be pretty much all of our embroidery left after we finish his wings. And that'll be all our embroidery stitches. And then we can go from there. So I'm going to do my other side and then I will pick it up from there. We got all of the body finished here on both sides. All that stitching is done. Now, the last little part of our embroidery is going to be the wing. And I've done one already, and this is what it's going to look like. Okay, it's really quite simple and goes quite fast. Now, you're going to want to take your wing, of course, and make sure it's for the right side. And you want the bigger part towards the belly and then the tip coming towards the tail for the wing. So what you're going to want to do is I'm going to take a marker here and I'm just going to draw a little line going down. My pen will work. Sometimes it takes it a minute. There it is. Going down the center of the wing to the tip. I don't draw all the way to the tip. I just kind of go like that. Now we're going to do another embroidery stitch here, and it's basically your fly stitch, which is that's your little V's here. And it's the fly stitch, but you add kind of like a branch to it. So what I want to do is I'm going to start, I'm going to start on the end here, the bigger end here, and take my needle. I'm going to use yellow thread. You can pick whichever color you want. I kind of like the yellow on the wings. It looks really pretty. So, and we're going to start with the typical fly stitch. So we're going to do your lines here, and we're going to go on either side of that line. So I'm going to go up through here, and then I'm going to go back down on the side of it. And I'm not going to pull all the way through because remember, this is our fly stitch. I'm going to go up a little ways from that and make sure my needle will be or my thread's on the other side of the needle so that it catches that hoop there, and pull it through just like that and pin it down. And then this might be a little tricky eyeballing this, but you're going to want to add a straight stitch there. And basically I like to go a little ways up. It'll always look a little further up than it really is because we're going to kind of work through this straight stitch. So I'm going to come up to the top here and come down to the center of that fly stitch and come back down just like that. And then I'm going to make another fly stitch, and I'm going to put that kind of a little bit down a ways into that straight stitch. So I'm going to bring that through, and again, and then when I come up, I want to come up at the top of that straight stitch. Okay, so I'm going to come up at the top of that straight stitch, and we're going to make sure our thread's on the right side, and we'll pull through and give that a pin that down just like that. Okay, and we're going to keep working that all the way through. So we're going to go up with our straight stitch like that, and then come back down to our fly stitch, and then we're going to put a fly stitch in, I kind of go about halfway down that straight stitch because you want it to be far enough away to where it's going to create that arrow effect. And then pin that down. And you're going to kind of have an effect like that. They look like little arrows coming through there. Do another straight stitch. Just like that. And we'll do another fly stitch. Like so. And we're just going to work our way down to the tip of the wing. It's like about one more here. Do one more stitch. Makes a really nice, pretty effect there. And then for the final one, I don't do another fly stitch. I'm just going to do a straight stitch. I'm just going to go a little ways up and then come back down to the tip of that point of the fly stitch. Like that. And that is our embroidery on there. And now we're going to add some beads. My needle is still threaded with the purple thread, so I'm going to use my purple seed beads, size 11s, and we're going to need to use a beading needle when we do this so the beads go through the needle. Otherwise your beads won't fit through onto your needle. And we'll give that a snip. And that is that part. Now I'm going to grab my beading needle here, put a little knot down at the bottom here, like that. And the way I do it is I like to put a bead right in between this fly stitch right here at the end. So right there, I'm going to pull through, pick up a bead, and pull that down, and come back down. And for the rest of it, that one's the only one that's kind of different. That kind of puts one in between. Kind of looks nice. Now for the rest of the wing, I put a bead at the tip of every single one of these. So on the, I guess you could call it the arm of this, you want to put a bead at the end of every single one. And you can tell right here that that's how it was done on this. See, there's a bead for every arm. And I'll show you how to do a couple, and then I will let you finish yours up and we will continue on. So I'm going to bring my needle up on the end of that, grab a bead, come back down. And then we got a bead at the end. And we're going to do that for all the tips of our fly stitches. And at the end, I don't put one on the end here. I just do the rest of the fly stitches and call it good on that. So I'm going to continue applying my beads here and let you keep working on yours. And that will be the end of our embroidery. I'm not even kidding. I'm pretty sure that's all of it. And the rest is just putting him all together. So I will be right back. All right, so I got my wings all stitched here. We should have something that looks like that. Nice and pretty. Now, since I still have my yellow embroidery floss on my needle, I am going to attach the eye flashes now. And it's pretty simple enough. Now, with these, I don't attach them fully. There's a little flap that's free. So they only take a couple stitches. It's more about figuring out where you want to put them. And I kind of like mine a little bit further towards the back and directly under the eye for both sides. And I kind of try and do them both and then line them up to where they look pretty even. And I give them a little turn. So I'd say probably about there is where I'm going to be putting mine. Now, I kind of hold it down with my finger and slide it towards the end of the table. And I'm going to just hold that on with my finger. And what I'm going to do, I'm not going to go all the way to this edge because we're going to be stitching over here. And I want to be able to lift that when I stitch. So I'm going to go in, I'd say probably about right here to where I can get about 2 stitches in, okay? And so I'm going to pull it through and I'm just going to do a little whip stitch here. Simple little stitch. And I'm going to try and get 2 of those in there. You know, we want them attached good, but we don't have to go too crazy. Like that. And then we'll go around over on this end. Do the top, across the eye. And back down. Easy enough. And then I'm going to add a couple more over here just to make sure they stay in place. We don't want them falling off. And that should be good there. Go through. Okay. And see that's attached now. I'm going to flip over. We're going to give it a knot here. A double knot. Like so. And trim that off of there. And do the same on the other side. Kind of double check where we're at with our location. And we'll start stitching them on. And don't forget to put a knot in your thread. Because I forgot to put one in mine. Here we go. Here we go. And there's the other one attached. We'll give that a double knot on this one. And trim that off of there. Next, we are going to attach the, what do you call them? The wattles. And those are easy enough too. I will set that aside there. So we're going to need our little red pieces here. Those are our little wattles. And these can be a little tricky to get the placement right. But I kind of like to angle it a little bit. I like it under the beak, but I don't like it directly, right up under his nose. So I like to kind of bring it over and add. I will put this, there's a little tip here, and I kind of line that up with the edge of his felt on his body there. And that tends to be a nice position for that. And we'll do the same on the other side. Try and keep them the same spacing, because when we put them together, they're going to be right next to each other. And this one, I did pretty good. It wasn't terrible. So we will line that up here. And then I always attach whatever I'm making, I attach with the same color thread. So I'm going to get some red thread here. Kind of separated it and whatnot. There it is. Lost my end. Okay, and we'll thread that up. Now with this one, I do the same. I don't pin it. I just hold on to it where it needs to be. And make sure that it looks good. It looks good to me, I think. It's always good to kind of put their heads together and see how they're lined up. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to do the same thing pretty much that we did with the eye flash. And we're going to just, make sure you're hitting the felt. Make sure you're not missing your connection with your felt there. And we're just kind of go along this one side. We're not going to go all the way around. Just enough to make sure that's going to be on there and secure. Because I kind of like this loose. It looks more natural that way. More the way a rooster would be. Just like that. And I'm going to do maybe one or two more. I just kind of go all along this side. I think we can do one more stitch. Maybe. There we go. And that's the wattle attached. You can see, you can tell how I kind of went along the edge there. And the rest is just kind of a little flap. And it's going to stay loose like that. We're not going to sew that down when we put them together. We're going to leave it loose. There's that. And I'll attach my other one here real quick. 1 second. Okay, for our next step, I'll bring you in just a touch. We're going to do his little feet, and I'm going to use orange. And we're going to need a little bit of polyfill. Just a little bit. That's probably too much right there because there's not a lot of stuffing going on there. Now, I do pin this while I get those first few stitches in. So I'm going to pin these two guys together just so they don't move around on me. And we're going to blanket stitch these. And to blanket stitch, we're going to take our thread or our needle and we're going to go to the in between. You see there's the two pieces here. We're going to go in between that. We're going to go up and under and through. And then that way our knot, I'm going to actually trim that just a little bit, is going to be hidden in between the two pieces of fabric. Okay. Now we're going to want to take our needle and come under and through both pieces of fabric. Okay. And pull, and then there's going to leave a little hoop there like that. And you want to bring your needle under and through that hoop and then pull. And that's going to be our first blanket stitch. Now, I showed this in the other video, but if you're new here or you didn't watch the other one, a nice way to keep your blanket stitches nice and uniform is to take your Sharpie marker and just take your thumb and just make two. I'm a little dried out here. Hang on. There we go. Make two little marks like that on your thumb. And I know that sounds really silly. I'm going to blow on it a little, kind of get it to dry. And that way, when you stitch, you can hold your work like this, and you can line up this mark with your last stitch, and then you can line up this mark here with your new stitch. So now we know to go here. Now I'm not going to use that so much with my feet because these are tiny and I want to do tinier blanket stitches. So come back up underneath your thread and pull through that hoop. And when you pull kind of straight up, and then that thread there will land right on the seam and close it really nicely. We're just going to keep kind of doing that. So underneath the thread, pull through the hoop and pull up. And we're going to do this for a little bit till we can get to his first few toes, and we'll fill up his toes with some polyfill. I do believe I may have started on the wrong side. This toe's a little bit bigger, but that's all right. We'll figure it out. And we'll just keep working our way around his feet here. And like I said, you don't need a lot of stuffing. There's not a lot to stuff here. It's just a tiny little piece. And I try to get kind of close to the corners. You don't want to get too close because it'll pull right through the felt and tear the felt, and it won't hold. You still have to leave just a little bit. And sometimes when you turn, you have to kind of give it a little sway back and forth. And since I'm turning, I'm just going to do a little tiny stitch and get myself in a big old knot. I believe that's my tail getting caught up in there. 1 second. All right, there we go. Tail. I'm going to actually trim that. Sometimes they get kind of kinked like that and they try to knot up a lot. There we go. All right. Now, where was I? That's right. We were turning the corner here. I'm just going to go straight to this corner here. I come in just a little on that though. And the little ones are kind of hard to stuff. You have to have I I like to have either a pencil or a pen or chopsticks work really well for it to kind of get those pieces wedged in, get the polyfill wedged into those tiny little pieces. I guess some of these pieces you're not going to get all the way into. There's no way. You're not going to get polyfill into some of these tiny little spots. It's too tiny of a place to fill. And you don't want to push too hard on it either, because that can break your blanket stitch. And then your filling will start popping out the sides and it won't look right at all. So sometimes it's best to just kind of leave it a little empty. I think I'm going to stitch a little more before I am going to take this pin out, though. We don't need that any longer. And we could try, we'll give it a shot. We'll try and do a little tiny piece here. I'm going to use a pencil, but I don't know if that's going to work. We'll try it. It's such a tiny little spot. I might have to sew a little more. Yeah, I'm going to sew a little more. Tear some of that off of there. And see that you don't need a lot in here. You just want to add a little dimension to it. It's, like I said, so small. It's not going to take a lot. And when we do our rooster, when we stuff him, you have to do the stuffing in stages as you stitch, or you aren't going to be able to get stuffing in certain areas. It's all about getting it kind of step by step, doing it as you go. Because otherwise, there's areas where if you leave just one spot open, because sometimes when people do stuffing, they can leave just one spot open and then they can stuff everything from that spot. Well, he's got a lot of, turns and curves, and you're not going to be able to reach and get into those areas with the stuffing if you don't do it as you sew. So we're gonna, one second, I'm gonna put that, do one here, kind of pull that a little tight, and then I'm going to do another tiny one here, and we'll see if we can get a little more stuffing in there, because might be able to. We'll find out here. We'll see. Let's see what we can do. And sometimes it helps to take just a little bit and kind of roll it in between your fingers. That kind of helps sometimes too. Make sure not to get your thread stuffed in there with it. And sometimes it's all about the proper tool too. Now, I have this little, it'll come over here. It's not a chopstick. I believe this came in my bag of polyfill, if I remember. And it's just a little tool to help you stuff that polyfill in to those hard to reach places, those hard to fill places. And see, that's about all you need. You don't need a lot in there. And we'll do up the rest of the leg, and then we'll put a tiny little bit more polyfill in there and call it good. Because he's got a skinny little bird leg. When I was little, my grandpa called me bird legs. Isn't that hilarious? I miss him. I don't know where he got it. Probably because I had such skinny little legs, like this silly rooster here. And my thread keeps trying to knot on me tonight. I think this was my cheaper embroidery floss that I had. And you can tell, it's really funny, the difference between the cheaper and the higher quality. The higher quality is a lot silkier, doesn't knot as much. Okay, that should be good on that. To make our knot, actually I'm going to stuff first and then we'll do our knot. So I'm going to take just a tiny itty bitty bit and kind of work it in there. This is the tricky part with this leg, with the feet is the leg part. I kind of work that a little bit. There we go. A little bit in there. And we don't have to seal the top. I don't think I sealed the top in the last one either, so we aren't going to do it on this one. It's not going to fall out because there's going to be more stuffing put in him anyway. Now to finish off our blanket stitch and seal that and knot it, I'm going to bring it back through. And I'm just going to put a knot there, and I'm going to do that one more time, like that. Pull it through, and then go through that. The great thing about felt is it's easy to hide the knot. And I'm going to go through that hole where my thread is, and then I'm going to flip it over and bring the needle up and through and pull that all the way through, and then kind of push down on it gently with the scissors and pull on the thread and just snip, and that will hide the thread. And there's his little foot. It looks a little wonky, but that's all right. So we got his little foot, got his little wings. And all we have left before we stitch him together, I'm not even kidding, we're almost to the end. We are seeing an end to this, is we just need to sew his wings on. And that one is pretty simple. So let me wrap my thread up here. Now I'm going to use the same color as the wings to sew them on. So I'm going to use this magenta, or I don't know how you say it, like a pink color, purple pinkish. And then the wings, this little curve here, I just kind of line it up with this little curve here. Kind of like that. And it doesn't matter if it's overlapping your embroidery at all. That doesn't matter. I don't think it matters, but that's just me. So, whoops, and then I get a position and it sticks. That's the only bad thing about felt. It'll grab any part of if your hands are dry, it'll just grab onto it. Okay, and then I'm going to position him on this side, like so. And then I'm going to go face to face and see how we look. Looks pretty good to me. I'm going to pin that until I get it put on. Just like that. And then we're going to stitch that on real quick. Okay, so I'm got my thread all on my needle, and this is easy enough. The The only thing I'm going to caution against is to not go too crazy with this here. And the reason I'm saying that is because when we stitch them together, I like to go in between and just stitch this part. And that, so kind of go in a little bit when you go up at the top. And I'm just going to use a simple little whip stitch, pin stitch, whatever you want to call it. And actually, we'll start over here so I can kind of show you what I mean. So I'm going to come up and then just up and down stitch. Simple, simple. But you want to make sure that there's enough space there to, the heck is going on here? Caught up in my tail. You want to make sure there's enough space here to where you can just, when you stitch them together, when you stitch the two sides together, that you are just stitching through this piece and not that piece in the wing, if that makes sense. That's how I like to do it because I think it makes it look a little cleaner. And that way the thread, because I'm going to use a light purple thread to stitch them together. And that light purple thread, if I was to go through that, would show through on the dark pink wing. And we want it to be looking a little more uniform than that. So this is easy enough. With the biggest problem with this, honestly, is getting caught up in that tail. That tail is a trick. I get caught up in it crazy. It's just a big piece of fabric just hanging there, so it's easy to get tangled up in. And it has the beads. So I'm going to continue doing this, and you want to do this on both sides. And then when we're done with the wing, I will show you how to put roosters are males. So put him together and get him stuffed and get his hanging string put on, and then he will be done. So we're so close to finishing him. Just be patient. We're almost there. So I'm going to finish putting my wings on him, and I will be right back. So I have my wings sewn on here. Okay. And now what we need to do is we just need to pin him together and start the stuffing process. So I'm going to line him up as best as I can get him here. It's kind of tough. There's a lot going on. And I'm just going to start putting some pins in just so it stays together as we sew it. And it might take a few, but that's all right. I'm going to take a few pins. Keeps it from sliding around on you. Keeps it from moving around. That doesn't look straight at all. It might take a little maneuvering to get it lined up. And don't worry about any threads that are kind of, that are kind of poking out. We can tuck those in as we stitch them. So we'll get a few pins in him. I'm going to put one on his neck over here. And then with the little foot, what you want to do is you're going to want to kind of tuck it up in between the two pieces. And then it's kind of tricky because you have to get the piece pinned and make sure it's where you want it. I kind of like it in the center of the body there. So I kind of come down and then up. Be really careful and be, try and do it close. Make it a close pin so that it holds it on there. And that way it'll stay on there as you put them together. I'm going to do a couple more pins just to be safe. I'm trying to get this done. I gotta head to work here soon. I hope I can get it finished in time before. I can't make promises, but we will do our best. Now I'm using purple thread, and I'm just using 2 pieces to stitch them together. I got a little knot in there in the bottom. Now to start off, we want to start underneath the beak is where we want to start stitching. And so I'm going to bring my thread in between the 2 pieces so that we can hide our knot at the end of this thread. Okay, tuck that down in there. There we go. And then I'm going to come back up under, right, and come back up where I came through, just like that. And then come through the hoop, just like that. And that's where you're going to want to start. And then we're going to just kind of stitch around the beak and around the head and probably about to here. So that way we can kind of stuff him as we go. I'm going to put 2 tinier stitches on his beak just so stuffing doesn't come out when we fill him. And so it makes for a nice clean looking stitch there. And keeps it all nice together. Like that. And then I'm going to come underneath here. And I'm going to go, go up under like that. And then I'm going to come back around. I'm going to do 2 more tinier stitches for his top of his beak. Get to that corner there. There we go. Got his beak stitched. And we're going to keep working away. I'm going to tuck in these. Make sure to tuck in your knots from your embroidery as you go so they aren't poking out and showing. Pardon me. And we're just going to keep, this is the blanket stitch. We're going to keep working our blanket stitch around. Bring in a little bit. We finally made it to the final steps. I just told my husband, I said, I don't think I'll ever make these again. To be honest, they are a lot of work. I'm not even kidding, but my goodness, they're beautiful. But boy, they do take a lot of time. They're worth it though. I love doing the felt. I've been doing felt work for a while, and I've even made my cat's toys. I've sent some to friends, and cats love my felt toys. And I have a bunch of felt toys that I've made and I have in a basket, and they still look great. They still look like the day I made them. I have a little jewelry box that I made, a little teddy bear jewelry box that was really cute that I made. And they hold their own. Oops. The great thing about felt is it's such an easy fabric to work with. And it's so inexpensive too. Just going to keep working around the head here. And use your marks on your thumb to keep everything even and looking nice. And, get knots in your thread like I do. It's been kind of a knotty day. I've been getting lots of tangles. What my deal is. try not to get your embroidery that you've sewn in either. I need to spin my thread it's twisting on me. There we go. Push that down in there. And turning isn't too hard. I just kind of go in the same hole. And then I turn my thread the direction I need to go. I take this pin out now. And I take my pins out as I go. And I'm gonna do probably 2 stitches here. And then we're gonna put a little bit of polyfill in. Should be good there. Okay, I'm gonna grab my handful of polyfill here. And then what you wanna do is you have this spot back here. It's a good spot. Back behind his head. And I'll zoom out a little for you on this. And then just kind of take it and shove it up in his head here. You want to be able to get that in there. Just kind of work it in. It should be good. We'll sew a little bit more. I kind of stitch and stuff and stitch and stuff and, kind of try and keep it an even flow because he's got a lot of nooks and crannies that need stuffing, and it's going to be kind of a trick to get some of it in if you wait until the last little bit of him to do that. It's going to be really hard. I'm actually going to be honest, you probably won't be able to get it in. So you need to stuff as you stitch. I'm kind of a tangled mess today. Not trying to rush it, but I gotta get to work really soon. I'm trying to get it done. There we go. And we can put some more in there. I wanted to get some more stitches in, so I take this one out of there, that pin, so I can work some stuffing in to his head here. Sometimes you can just use your finger, but sometimes it gets a little tight spots. You're going to need to get a stick or a pencil or something. And you want to fill it enough, but you don't want to overstuff it because it'll break through the seams and start coming through your stitches. So you want enough in there, but you don't want too much. I'm going to try and get a little in his beak here. I bet the pencil would work a little better for that, which it did. Might be able to get a little more in there. Looks good. You don't need a whole lot. It's just a little beak. There we go. Now I'm going to call that good in that area until we come to the end, because that's his neck, the end of his neck. And when I get to this point, I just kind of put these little eye flashes back and work around them. I think we can stitch pretty far at this point. Just at the beginning there with his head, you want to get that in there as soon as you can. And kind of pull these back a little. Make sure not to get those in your needle when you come through. Go. There we go. Shade snoring. He's zonked out. Okay, now I'm over to the wings here. And when you get to the wing part, I like to make it to where I'm not catching the wings in when I stitch. So I'm going to come underneath. You can see that there. And like that. So I'm not coming into my wings when I stitch. That's why I kind of leave that little gap there when I sew the wings on. Like I said, kind of tuck your knots in as you go from your embroidery in. It's so hard to do this without getting caught on everything. I'm going to take this pin out here. Just don't take the pin for your leg out until we get it stitched on. Now we're going to get this big tail. His head's all top heavy now after we've sewn or stuffed it. It's the only thing stuffed at this point. That knot doesn't want to go in. Get in there. There we go. And with this one, I don't put my hanger on until I'm done stuffing. And I'll show you how I do that when I'm finished, when we're finished doing this. Oh, bumped my elbow there. My chair's kind of squeaky. About due for a new chair. Sounds pretty old. Yeah, my bugle beads didn't line up. Oh well. Whatever. Take that pin out. And that one. Try and tuck things in as I go. You don't want those to come out and be sticking out. Looks like I'm getting low on thread. We'll see how that goes here. If we need more, we'll get some more. Okay, I gotta get to the end of this tail and I gotta get ready for work. I thought I'd be able to get through it, but nope. So we'll do this last stitch here. There we go. And do a quick little turn. And we're going to have to call it good there. I will be right back. I got to go to work. All right, so I'm back now. I got off work and was really tired last night, so I didn't get to finishing it last night. So we're going to finish. We are going to finish this rooster today. I'm running low on thread, so I'm going to tie off. Actually, hang on a second. I'm going to actually try and I need to redo my marks, first of all, on my thumb, because they are gone. Get my marks back on there. And I'm going to try and do a couple more stitches here if I can get some in. I really wanted to finish this last night, but I was so tired. And, with my kitten in his arm, I have to spend like an hour every night. I spend time with him. I feed him. I have to give him his medicine. I have to clean his litter box and clean his crate and sweep it and make sure he's all comfy. So it takes me a little while. So between that and dinner and getting cleaned up after work, I ended up not having the time or energy I thought I was going to have. So we're just going to finish this off tonight. And I'm not going to go all the way through the base of the tail because we're going to stuff this a little bit. I'm going to go about halfway. And I think I should have enough floss to get us there at least halfway. And then we can attach a new thread. I'm going to do one more here. And then, it's Friday, so it's payday, and I had to go run errands and pay rent and all the fun responsibilities on a Friday. And it was busy. It was so busy out today. People everywhere. I think they're probably all getting ready for the Easter weekend is probably what's going on. So it took a little longer than I anticipated. I'm going to call it good there, and I'm going to make another knot or two here and tie off my thread and put a new one on. If I can find my proper opening here. But going into this, I knew that the rooster would take a while, but I had no idea whatsoever that it was going to be so extensive when I started doing it. And I'm gonna bring that through. I'm gonna bring it up through here, and then we'll cut that. There we go. And I'm gonna start a new thread here real quick. And we are almost through this. We are so close to being finished with him. And like I said, for you guys, you can pause it and do it however you want. It's taken me 3 days to film it, so take your time on it, make it nice. And if you get frustrated or tired with it or whatever, set it down for a while and come back. I don't plan on making this video is going to be up this a long time, probably my lifetime. So you'll be there if you need it. So take your time on them and make them look good, make them nice, make them pretty, make them yours. Okay, and I'm gonna attach this real quick. See, we came out at this is our last stitch we had here, and I'm going to come in between my two pieces of felt like that and just pull it up through, and then we can tuck in that knot. Now I'm going to do a little stuffing on the tail here, so that because if we keep going, all we'll have is this little tiny thin little area to stuff through. So we want to have a little more space in that to stuff. So I'm going to stuff this tail, and that way you can kind of use your finger and kind of curve around and kind of get into that tip. And if you can't quite get into it, you can always use your chopstick or pencil or whatever and kind of push it and work it down into that. Let me back up a little, kind of back into that tip here. And this tail takes a little bit more stuffing than the head. But always make sure you want to get this stuff before you start sealing, or you won't be able to get to it. And it's going to be impossible to stuff it. And you want it firm. You want it thick, but you don't want it so thick that it's going to split these seams. See that one? It kind of did. And if you get that, see here I had it. See if I can make that happen again. So you can kind of see if you stuff it too deep like that, it'll kind of start splitting there and coming through. If that happens, just kind of give it a little pinch and kind of squish it down a little. Kind of maneuver the polyfill around, and that will help even that out again and kind of tuck that polyfill back in where it belongs. Do just a little bit more. There we go. And now we are attached with our thread, so we're going to just keep on stitching. I'm going to do a few more stitches here, and then I'm going to do a little more stuffing. Like I said, just stuff and stitch and stitch and stuff and stitch and stuff as you go. I got my kitties a couple new kitty food bowls at the store, and I was looking over in the pet section, and they wanted like $3 or $4 per bowl for cat bowls, and I was like, are you kidding me, right? So I actually went to the dishes section at the store, and I got them a couple for like 99 cents, and they're nice glass bowls, They don't need like paw print designs and stuff on them. They're just eating out of them. So we feed them wet food, and so we have a few bowls, but some of them that we have are kind of chipped and looking really kind of rugged and ratty. So I wanted to get them a few new ones. So I figured that was a good idea to just, they can eat out of a human bowl. It won't hurt them none. And I wanted to use plastic, but they kind of push their bowls around when they eat. So I thought I'd probably run away from them if that was the case. I'm going to stuff this part here because otherwise it's going to be kind of hard to do. And like sometimes you can use your finger. This part here you want to be nice and firm because otherwise your tail is going to sink down. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you want this stiff here because if not, your tail is going to, it's going to hang down and it's not going to hang right. So the important parts on this are the little spot here by the bum and the tail and the neck on this that you want to have stuffed nice because otherwise they flop over and they don't hold their shape. So make sure you get a good amount of stuffing in that spot. And it might try to come through on you, but just kind of work it. I need a little more stuff in here. See, you want that nice and stiff right there. And that way, it's not gonna fall. Now I'm gonna stitch all the way past the foot before I stuff more. And that way, we can get that foot stitched on there and attached. It's a really pretty day, but it's so windy out there right now. It's spring, so it always comes what they used to say when we were little, in like a lion, out like a lamb. Because it comes in strong and windy and leaves gently. So spring is here, I think, though. I saw some grackles in the yard this morning when I woke up. And grackles like the warmer weather, so I'm thinking that we might be through the worst of it. And I leave this pin on while I stitch it. And I do kind of like just I don't know what you would call it, like a whip stitch or quick stitch. But you want to make sure you're getting all the pieces. You want to make sure every part of the felt, the two body parts and the foot are getting tacked on there. And you can kind of go close to your other stitch if you need to. There's not a lot of stitch space on this. But we got to make sure we get that stitched on tight and good. Just a stab stitch, I guess you would call it. And one more here. And get through. go. Now you can take that pin out. I'm going to do a blanket stitch just like I would starting off. So just kind of right over each other there. So that should be, yeah, that's attached nice there. Now I'm going to stuff some more. I'm going to stuff this part, this bottom part of his body here. And I'm going to kind of stuff a little bit back by that part back there. Make sure that's nice and stuffed good. We can put some in here. And then we'll probably stitch the rest of him up and stuff his neck, and that will be the end of this hem, basically, except for attaching our string. All right, I'm going to stitch some more. Make sure you're not getting wrapped around his foot there as you stitch. Oop. I'm making a mess here. What's going on? My foot keeps trying to get tangled up. Do one more here. Let's see where we're at. Might do a little more stuffing. Yeah, I think I'm going to add a little more stuffing in. I like to make sure I can get it all in there. We want to make sure that he can get stuffed. Because he needs a little more down here, I think. That's better. There we go. I'm going to stitch a little more. Now when you get to the wattles here, what I like to do is I just take them on either side and just kind of push them aside. And that way they're out of your way when you're stitching. But I'm not going to stitch yet because that's about enough to put my finger in. So I'm going to stitch or stuff his neck. We got to get some stuffing in his neck here. You don't want to leave too small of a hold where you can't get the stuffing in, which we might have come a little close on this one. But I think that's going to work. And it helps to just kind of give it a little poke with your chopstick or your pencil. Kind of work it all in nice. And that'll also kind of seal in the extra little, you'll have little fibers that'll be sticking out, and that'll kind of help pack those down a little. I think I need a little touch more up here, kind of by his head. Oh no, it's coming out of the back of his head. See how you can't overstuff, or it'll come through the stitch. But we can shove it back in. There we go. Almost ruined him. Fix that there. I can fix that. I'll show you how to fix that anyway, because that's a good thing to know. Okay, that should be good. And we will seal him up here. I'm going to actually kind of pack that down a little bit better. Now, just got to pinch it together where you've stuffed him to seal him up. That. And I go in between the wattle. I don't go on the wattle. I don't go through the red. I only go through the body, the neck part. Pack that down just a little. Go. And when I get to this last stitch here, this is going to be our last stitch. I poke that thread in. And put that in there. And I like to make sure that's going to stay. So I go right next to that stitch I just did. And I'm going to do another blanket stitch right next to that, just so it seals up nicely. Like that. Okay. And now back here you can see, I don't know if you can see and tell, I kind of have a break open on the back of my head there. See how that broke open? Now what I want to do is fix that. So I'm going to take my, and if this ever happens, this is something you can do to fix it. So I'm going to take my thread, and I'm over here. I'm going to put a knot in here just because that's where I finished. So I'm going to finish off with another knot just to make it a little more secure. Oh, I got caught around that tail. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to take my needle, and I'm on this side, and my blowout is over here. So I'm going to take my needle and just push it through over here to this side of the head. I'm just going to pull that all the way through. Nobody's going to see that. Don't worry about it. Nobody's going to see that part. Now, I'm going to fix this blowout, and how I'm going to do that is I'm going to do closer stitches together just to repair that. I'm going to first of all do our first initial stitch through that hole I made. Come through the same place like that. And then I'm going to, I don't know if you can really see how I'm doing this. And then I'm going to just make really small stitches along here and repair this blowout we had with, I pushed a little too hard with my polyfill and it kind of went out the other end. And that will reseal this gap back up, just like that. And sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes it happens. We're not all perfect, so. And I'm going to do one more right here in this corner, this kind of turn here, just to reinforce it. And then I'm going to do another double knot to seal it. And then I'm going to take my needle and go through my hole that I was just at, and come up. Make sure you're coming up on the felt and not on your embroidery, because that might cut it. And then come up through there, and then just give it a snip. And that is our rooster. And you can kind of push around on him and adjust your polyfill and check for any other blowouts that you may have had. I have a few, but I like to, some of them you can just kind of push in and adjust that polyfill. And I like to kind of look him over, make sure he looks nice and stitched. Looks good in pretty much everywhere. He looks great. We just had that little blowout up top, but that's okay. It's fixed now. See, we got that fixed. It looks a little over-stitched there, but that's okay. At least we know that it's okay and it's not going to fall apart on us. And we're not going to lose our stuffing. So that is our rooster here. Now if you're going to attach a thread to hang him, let me grab my thread. Let's see, I need size. I'm using the size D Nymo thread, but you can use anything. You could even use dental floss. It doesn't matter. Basically, this stuffing here. You just want to take it, and I don't know how long you want yours, but I'd make it a little longer than what you want him to hang in case you have to wrap it and tie it around something. And take a little snip, and we'll thread that onto our needle here. Just like that. Now, I like to have a good size knot because felt, the knots kind of go through pretty good. So you want to have a really good sized knot coming through there. So I usually do double, triple knots when I do this. That way it's a nice big ugly knot. We'll just call it a big ugly knot because that's a pretty ugly knot. Now, I'm going to have to bring you out for this. To find your hanging where you want to hang him with your thread, okay, hang on, I'm going to move you up a little bit so you can see this better. Okay, so to kind of find where you want to hang him, this is what I did, is I took my needle and I would poke it through, well, let's poke it through here and kind of look and see how he hangs, okay? If you poke it through here, he doesn't hang so good. And like, you can poke your needle through here and he hangs backwards a little bit. So obviously where we're going to want to poke through is going to be in the tail. And that seems like a pretty good spot to hang him. And like, say if you go to the back of the tail, he hangs way too far forward. But it's kind of a good way to see how he's going to hang from where you're coming through with your needle. And I think that is about perfect. I believe that's where I hung this guy. Yeah, that's pretty much. And I have found that if you go to the crest of his head and kind of go back and just kind of up a little bit, that is probably about the perfect spot for him to hang. So, I mean, you got to figure that's pretty good. He looks pretty good there. So I'm going to hang him there. Now to put his hanger in, you want to, so the spot that we're hanging him is about right here between these two bugle beads, okay? So I'm going to take my needle, and you can see with your blanket stitch, you can open this up, okay? So you can stick your needle in that hole there and bring your needle through. I don't know if that's kind of bright. Hang on. So you can see here's one side of your felt, here's the other side, and here's your thread. So you're going to want to go either side, it doesn't matter, but you're going to want to go into one of those holes. There's kind of a little hole there. And you're going to want to go and put your needle through that and pull through like that, okay? And then your knot is going to be hidden within that hole. See, that hides the knot in there. And you can push it in there if you want to push it in there a little bit more. But that is how you hang him. And if you don't like where he's hanging, you can always pull that out of there and move it again. But that's how you hang your rooster. And I don't know if I like how he's hanging. Let's check with the other guy here. See how they're hanging. How you hanging, guys? They look pretty much the same as far as hanging goes. So, and like I said, what you could do is if you don't like him hanging just forward a little bit, you could take the other end of your thread with your needle and stick that through, say, part of his head, and then you can kind of angle it. But then you're going to have two strings coming up out of him. So you could take this and connect it also to, say, this, and you could hang him like that. That's entirely up to you. I'm going to just use one string because that's how I like it. And so that is how we make our little rooster guy. Now I can't make promises. As soon as I can, I'm going to try and get the carousel put together. But I can't make promises on that, but I'm going to do my best. And we will put these, I'm going to do 3 roosters and 3 of the horses that I did in the previous video. And we're going to hang those and make a carousel mobile out of them. So if you want to make 2 more, I got these 2, and I'm already working on my 3rd one here. I've already kind of started him. So if you want to make 3 and make a mobile, that's up to you. The mobile is going to be like a hoop, and it's going to have some felt around it to make it look like a carousel, and some embroidery work and things like that on it. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get that video made, but I'm going to try and do it as soon as I possibly can. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was clear enough and that you were able to follow along with me and make your own little felt embroidered rooster here. And they turned out really, really pretty. I really love them. So I appreciate you watching my video. Thanks for stopping by. Feel free to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave those down below. I have to approve my comments because I do get some spam comments, so it might take me a little while to get to the approval of the comment, but I will get back to you when I do have the time. So thanks a lot for watching my video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.